It looks like it might work. Welcome to Collecting Chaos. My name is James, and OPS Studio is giving me fits today. I've been trying to record this for about 4 hours. Not the whole record, just this small little intro. Anyway, this video is not about me in OBS Studio. This video is about Zorro number 3 from 1966 and my work on the interior pages. It might run a little long, but that's okay. Let's just get into it. All right, this is the second wrap, or actually the 7th wrap, because I started with the centerfold, which is the 8th wrap. This is the next one we're going to work on. But before I do that, let's take a look at the centerfold that I already did. And there's a couple of reasons I want to kind of compare them. As you can see, it didn't change the color, which is fine, but we do know that it's in a whole lot better shape. Take a look at this. Take a look at the way the paper just kind of, and then let's compare it to, yeah, that's real stiff, real. And then take a look down here where we have the discoloration. It's almost completely gone. You can just barely see it. But I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm going to do a little bit of a change in the way I do this. And first thing I'm going to do is set this off to the side. Let's see, where can I put it that it'll be safe? This looks like a good spot. Let's see. Okay, that is the interior. So that's the way I want it. I want it to go down that way. But you know, after the first wrap, or after the centerfold, it's kind of hard to figure out which one is which. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to make a very light mark up here in the corner. It has to be dark enough for me to see. Okay, I can see that. And I can still erase that once I'm done, and it won't be a big deal. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and wash this. And when I say wash, I mean soap. You know, I use, people don't like it, but that's my preference. I use Dawn dish soap with some warm water, between 80 and 90 degrees usually, sometimes 95. And then I'm going to wash it like that. Once it's washed, and I agitate it for 3 to 5 minutes, but you know, or not. I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes, let's put it that way, and I'll agitate it occasionally. Then I'm going to take it out, I'm going to bring it back over here, and we're going to try to remove the stain. And the reason I'm going to do it in this order instead of waiting to the end to do it is I got to thinking about it, and after the stain, or after I wash it, I rinse it. And then I put the calcium hydroxide and methyl cellulose in it. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, the stain, or the rust remover is still on the paper. Well, that can't be good. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and wash it. We're going to try to remove as much of this stain as we can with the rust remover. Then I will go back and I'll do my rinse and my calcium hydroxide and methyl cellulose wash. So that's how we're going to do it. I'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes. I got a little sidetracked. It's been about 45 minutes. That's okay. I don't think it hurt it any. Let's go ahead and put some of this on here. Oh, it starts fading right away. Good stuff. Now, I tested this on an old comic page that I have. One of the ones I got from All That Scrap. And you don't want to do this if the page is not wet, because it will leave a tide mark. But if the page is wet, you don't get any tide marks. We'll put a little more on there. And put the cotton round on it. Huh. I got a cheap cotton round there. You know what? I'm going to use that one. It's a cotton oval. And I'm going to leave that for about 15 minutes. I'm going to come back. I'm going to check it. I'm going to probably add a little more. And I'm going to do that about every 15 minutes. And then when I think it's faded enough that I don't have to worry about it anymore, I'll come back and show you. All right, I changed the cotton round a couple of times. There's the result. It's almost completely gone. Now this is the other side. I actually flipped the page over and did the other side, and I switched from this to this because I was having to go over it 4 or 5 times just to get it a little bit on there. And this I can just do once and it's done. I'm happy with the way it looks. You can still see it just a tiny bit, but not much. I want to go ahead and rinse it out because I still have soap in the page. So I need to do a rinse on it and add the calcium hydroxide and methyl cellulose. Then I'm going to go ahead and put it in the press, and I'll show you what it looks like once it comes out. Now this is the last wrap, or the first wrap actually. I've done the other 7. This is the last one I need to do before finishing the interior. And I'll show you those towards the end. But this stain comes up from here, down all the way around and back up. And on both sides, you know, so it's pretty bad. Plus we've got this black from the staple that's pretty rough as well. So how am I going to get that out? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it the same way that I did every other wrap. The only difference is I'm going to go through each step with you. Now I'm not going to sit here and go through, 15-20 minutes of letting it sit in a bath. But I'll show you me putting it in the bath. I'll show you me removing it from the bath, bringing it over here, and treating this black stain. I'll show you me putting it into the rinse, me putting it in with the adding the methyl cellulose and the calcium hydroxide mix. I'll show you all of that. And in case you're wondering what these are, I picked up some blotter paper, and it's pretty thin stuff. I didn't think it would work very well, but I was wrong. And so when I trimmed it down, I had some leftover pieces, and I just decided to cut them into 1.5 to 2 inch squares so they would fit over this. And that's the way I did the last couple of wraps, and it turned out really well. Better than using the cotton round. So all of these are nice and dry. So, yeah, let's get started. Okay, I've got my pan here, as you can see. And the first step is, of course, putting a piece of Kollecting down. And I'm going to spray it down with a solution of Dawn dish soap and water. And I know people say, well, you need to use Triton X, you need to use this, you need to use that. But I use Dawn dish soap. I've been using it for ever, and it works for me. And that's all there is to it. Then I'm going to lay this down somewhat flat. I'm not worried about it being perfect, because it's going to raise up anyway. And then we're going to spray that down. This solution is actually cold. Well, it's not really cold, it's room temperature. And in that case, it's 70 degrees. So now I'm going to add some water. And as you can see, the water I'm going to add is 109 degrees, which sounds kind of hot, maybe too hot, but that's the way I do it. And it's tap water, coming out at 109 degrees. When I put it in, it dropped down 4 degrees. So, put that in. And I probably should be wearing gloves, but I don't feel like it. And the reason I should be wearing gloves is because once I put this in, I'm going to fix something to eat. Alright. I hold either end of the page and I agitate gently. Agitating is nothing more than running the water back and forth, back and forth. And I don't do it for too long, just enough until I start seeing the tannins coming out of the paper. Now I'm not trying to get this paper white. I want it. I like the idea that it's an older comic and that it looks like an older comic. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes, however long it takes me to eat. And that's it. That's the first step. Okay, next step. We'll move this forward some. Take my cutting board. Put it slightly under it. And then bring it over the edge, which I don't think you can see the edge. But I do that to drain out some of the excess. And then slide it onto the cutting board like that. And as you can see, it's pretty yellow. So let me go pour this off and we'll go to the next step. Alright, next step. Let's just get a little of the excess off of here. I don't really need to do this, but mostly I'm just flattening out the paper. And I know people aren't crazy about me using squeegees, but you use the tools that you like and the tools that are comfortable for you. Next, we're going to get the brush that I've been using and the Vapor Rust, which there, now maybe you can read it. Dip it in, paint it on. I like to have a lot of it on that first one. Okay, that should be good enough. We'll take one of my little pads that I have here, and we're just going to set it just like that, and we'll let it sit for an hour. Then we'll come back and check on it. Maybe under an hour, I don't know. It's been a little over an hour, and I changed the blotter paper once already. Let's take a look at it. I might need to just change it again. I think I'm going to do it one more time and maybe let it sit for another 20 or 30 minutes, and this will be the last time I change the blotter paper also. I want to get as much of that off as possible. Put the blotter paper down. And I'll be back in about 20 or 30 minutes to do a rinse. Well, it's been about 30, 40 minutes. Let's take a look. I like that. That's good enough, I think. You can still faintly see it, but it's not bad. So the next thing I need to do is rinse it. Be right back. Okay, I took it off of the cutting board. We're going to place it in here. And all I'm going to do is put water in it. And it doesn't make much difference if the water is warm or cold. This water is about room temperature. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to hang on to each side, and we're going to gently agitate it. And then it's going to sit for about 20 minutes. We want to get as much of the soap and the evaporust out of it as possible. Although the evaporust will evaporate pretty quick. And now let it sit for about 20 minutes. Then we'll pour this water off and go ahead and add my methyl cellulose and calcium hydroxide solution. Alright, I went ahead and poured off the rinse water. I got a little more tannin out, but not a whole lot. So the next thing I need to do is add the calcium hydroxide and the methyl cellulose. And I've got a kind of a unique way of doing that. I'm going to put 60 milliliters of calcium hydroxide solution. And I'm just going to pour it over the whole thing. And then we're going to go with the same amount of methyl cellulose solution. And do the same thing. We're just going to run it over the whole thing. Just like that. And another 60 milliliters of calcium hydroxide solution. Now you notice I went horizontal. I went this way the first time, and now I'm going that way. And that's it. That's all the solution I'm going to add. But it's kind of concentrated, so we need to add a little bit of water. So just enough water to cover the whole thing, not that much. I just want to have enough that it'll soak in. Maybe a little tiny bit more. Yeah, that's good. And now I'm going to roll that back and forth. And we're going to let it sit. It's been a little while since I added the methyl cellulose and calcium hydroxide, so let's go ahead and take it out. I'm going to put it back on here. Lift it up a little bit, right out of the water, just like I did before. And see if I can move that over so that you can see me. Nope, can't. Can I get it over a little farther? There we go. As you can see, it's rolling right off the edge and onto the cutting board. Got to empty out this water. I'll be right back. Okay, it's back on the cutting board. Let's go ahead and squeegee it down a little bit. Get some of that excess water off of there. Not that I'm really that concerned with it, because I'm going to put some more stuff on it. That's right, one more dose of methyl cellulose, just to make sure it's nice. And we'll paint this on. Just like that. This isn't quite as concentrated as the other methyl cellulose I put on it. But I just want to make sure it has plenty on there. And now we're going to let it sit for, I don't know, probably about 30 to 40 minutes. And then I'll add, because I want to let the methyl cellulose soak in really well. And then I'll add another piece of Kollecting, and it'll go in the cold press. Well, it's been a little while, so let's go ahead and dry this off some. And yeah, these are paper towels, but the only thing I'm using them for is to dry off the... Get some of the moisture out. Don't need it to be too wet. Turn it over. And some more paper towels. And like I said, all this is to take out some of the excess moisture. I'm going to take a blotting paper and we'll turn it over again. And I forgot to put the yeah. Oops. Forgot to put the Kollecting on it. That wasn't good. Another piece of blotting paper on this side, and whole thing goes in the cold press, just like that. Then in about an hour, I'll change out the blotting paper to another piece, and then 5 or 6 hours later, it'll be dry. But I'm not going to show you that. I'm not going to show you the outcome of this. In fact, I'm going to wait and show you all the pages on my next video. And also in the next video, I will show you how I'm going to clean the cover. It's a new method. I experimented with it. I tried it out. It worked. In fact, I'll show you what I tried it out on in just a second. Now this is a little bit longer piece of blotting paper. It's actually just slightly smaller than the shelves that I use for my cold press. And this is what I experimented on. This was a Silver Age coverless cover to a comic that I have. And this is one that I'm working on and not filming. But this color loss here was already there when I started, and as you can see, there is no cover loss, and it was filthy, nasty, dirty. I mean, it was just water stains all over it, and as you can see, it came out really nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over so you can see the back side. No stains and no cover loss or color loss. That's the biggest deal, no color loss. So when I start working on this with all these stains, I shouldn't have to worry about the loss of that color. And I'm going to show you how to do that on the next video. Stay tuned. All right, that's it. That's the video. This is the 6th, maybe the 7th time that I've recorded the outro. I've been having a lot of trouble. So I'm just going to say, see you Monday. And you consider, like, subscribe, do all the neat stuff, and it's going to help out the channel. Maybe someday I'll hit that 1,000 subscriber mark so I can do this giveaway that I'm planning. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.